As you are aware, at India STEM Foundation and its network of schools, we allow our students to experiment and fail, but not let them fail. This is an initiative of our principals. It's time for all of you to welcome our power-packed panel of principals. Our principals help students and parents understand STEM and STEAM through their insights, commenting on the challenges and opportunities. Since this is a moderated session, all the questions will be taken at the close of the event. I would invite all the participants to type down their questions respective to the principals they want the questions to be answered by. To our principals, I would request you answer each of the questions we have listed for them. These questions are from our audience and of course the topics our principals want to address. I will keep this conversation interactive as much as possible, and I'm very eager to hear from our principals. We will begin Miss Una Roy Chaudhary, Principal, Alpine Convent School, Gurugram.
Thank you so much, Bhuvan, and good evening and namaskar to everybody.
All right, so straight into our viewers' questions to you, Ms. Una Roy Chaudhary. Can you share with us some of the challenges that STEM education faces in India from the point of view of an academician, an administrator, and an educating leader?
Okay, thank you so much for getting me in panel. Yes, this is a very relevant question, Bhuvan, because especially in India, the syllabus, the boards we follow, the central boards I'll be talking about, CBSE, ICSE, and even the state boards, we have a curriculum. We have a defined curriculum to complete. We have a defined syllabus to complete. So in our timetable, we have to have the maths, the science, the English. We have to have all the subjects filled up. And then if we want to put the integrated learning, if you put it at STEAM education in that sense, where the time we can give is not what we should be giving. Now, actually, I think after NEP, after the implementation of the NEP, things will change. But still now, the way the technological advancement has happened, the syllabus change hasn't happened in the same way. So you are left with the same in all the subjects, but all the principles in all the schools. See, when you have a child who is in grade 3, so this is 2022. Another 10 years, the child will be going in the college. That will be 2032. So how you are going to make that child future ready? You have to make the child future ready. You don't have a choice. But at the same time, if your school is under a board, you always have to complete the syllabus. So this is a real challenge. And another thing what Dr. Sudhanshu was mentioning, that is very pertinent, the resource, the cost. Yes, my school, I'm very privileged to be in a school where the cost is not the factor. And I'm so glad to know that, they are doing it for so many schools. But then also, after we implement in so many schools in India, just think about the country. Think about the length and the breadth of the country. I think it's insufficient still now. But talent is not insufficient in India. Intelligent students, the number of intelligent students is also not insufficient. I really think that the way he was mentioning, the corporate and all other sectors, if they work hand in hand, and the more success will come. India being the country of youth, right now, this is the country of the young generation. So the more number of people we can reach, after another 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, they will be there in the work. So these are the basic few limitations I could think about.
Absolutely. Ms. Una Roy Chaudhary, thank you for giving us the perspective, not just the time scale the students spend at school while learning, but also the length and breadth of the country where the national education policy is to be implemented through our principles. Thank you for sharing this perspective with us. All right, to our next question to you, Ms. Roy Chaudhary. our viewers, our participants are very eager to know what are some of the opportunities emerging from the STEM education in India for students, teachers, and parents.
So, how can you say some of the opportunities? All the opportunities will be there. You cannot avoid technology anymore. You just cannot avoid technology anymore. You cannot avoid science. You cannot avoid technology. There are only opportunities. Same, that is technology, science, integrated in the day-to-day classroom situation will bring a massive change. All sectors, wherever you go, it doesn't matter which sector you are going. Without a proper STEM education, without being proper literate in the technological sector, only with bookish knowledge and theory knowledge, it's almost impossible to succeed. Yes, you can, your mark sheet, only your academic results, that can take you till the door of an interview. After that, what they were mentioning, when they go to the workforce, then they are not job ready at all. Then they are not job ready at all till the time they don't have hands on. You think about anything, you think about any situation today, think about the sustainability, the blooming sector, think about waste, think about the waste management. Whether how the waste is created right now is not, it doesn't matter, but how can you do that? Can it be only done by creating awareness? No, we need the help of technology. So you can think of any field, Bhuvan. There is no end to it. Any industry, any area the children want to go, or any industry they want to create, there will be people who will be creating industries. Then also they cannot get away from it.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Madam Roy Chaudhary, Principal Roy Chaudhary, for such elaborate responses to our participants, our viewers' questions. Okay, moving on to our next principal, all the way from Hyderabad, Dr. Sneha Nalla, Director of Nalla Malla Reddy Foundation School. Madam, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Good evening to all of you.
Excellent. So, ma'am, diving straight into our questions, our viewers are very curious to hear from you. How should we create, how should schools create an interest in students towards STEM education?
So to start with STEM education, as we start with education first. So in the school, we start with the basics of the language, like the programs which we follow right from teaching them A, B, C. The same how we start even in STEM education, we have to start right from the basics, like the basic soldering, basic carpentry, or basic welding. So along with this, introducing them towards the resistors or all these electronic equipment. And then going on to the next level is the robotics or the 3D printing, and the other part, laser engravers and all these things.
All right. So, viewers, there are several aspects that you need to learn from software to hardware, as Madam Sneha, Dr. Sneha elaborated. Okay, to our next question to you, Dr. Sneha, what should be the requirement of any school for cultivating technological awareness to move towards the goal of STEM education?
For STEM education, first of all, what is needed is to imbibe an interest towards science. So the science, to grow the interest in science, first it has to be started with how it is being presented. So presented through the laboratories, and then for the present day, as it is shown about the old classroom or the new classroom in the previous by the previous speakers. So the same how as science has to be presented in a better way, and practically it has to be shown. And the Mindstorms, which is the best way, Lego Mindstorms is the best way how we can show the models even. And also a few videos which are played so that they grow interest in science first. And then coming to the next part is about technology. So technology is through the basics of coding. There are many websites like the coding.com or so. So wherein they learn. Whereas coming to Mindstorms, it gives that also. The edge also is given through that. And then engineering. So to put this science and technology together. So this is what is the engineering concept. And then the mathematics, what we are talking about is the precision which is taught. So to grow the interest, first it has to be taught in how it has to be understood by the student first. So it is definitely possible with a better device, like, so as it is displayed, that's right. I feel it is a safe device also for them to learn better.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for elaborating on what all students can learn from and how they can implement, and the safety aspect as well of what they are using. Thank you for sharing, which kits students can use. All right, to our next question from you, Dr. Sneha. Our viewers are very eager to know from you, how does STEM education help in improved performance of students in their overall development?
Yes, overall development is to start with the students' overall development is dependent on their innovative skills. So imbibing an interest in the concept of innovation is much important. So for that, we start with, as it was been talked about, so many things introduced to the students so that they know the concepts and then they can practice them properly. So they know the coding, for example, and then they can practice it and keep this in practice through an engineering model or whatever it is. And then as well as, this is how when a student innovates something, they are very confident. This is how we make the leaders of tomorrow. So this is how it also improves their leadership qualities. Confidence which we give to the student to make the best out of. And I like the concept of STEM to the art adding to it.
Absolutely.
STEM to STEAM. Yes, right.
Fantastic. So learning by doing is the mantra, viewers. Okay, so moving on to our next principal, all the way from Goa. Please put your hands together to welcome Miss Selena D. Souza from Spring Valley High School, Goa. So diving straight into our viewers' questions for you. Um, our viewers are very interested in knowing from you, learning from you. With the new education policy 2020, how will STEM be part of the curriculum?
Yes, the new education policy is a very promising policy, much needed change in the education system. And definitely the curriculum is imbibed with STEM included in it. As you all know, the education policy 2020 is having the stages where it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. And STEM can be directly included in the curriculum right at plus 4 stage, which includes classes of 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, where students will be exposed to all the kinds of subjects that they want to opt for. As of now, we are restricted to 6 subjects, but at the grade 9 to 12, there will no longer be streams of arts, commerce, science. And so 9th to 12th will be high school, and they will be given an option to select the subject of their choice, whether you have it in your institution or they have to go into the cluster institution. And so in this way, the students will be given a wide opportunity to progress. They opt for the kind of subject they are interested from a very young age. And as they pass out from high school, yeah, so I don't think there will be any difficulty in with STEM introduced with the new education policy. It is going to be enforced in full form.
Fantastic. Thank you, Principal D'Souza, for sharing this insight into the National Education Policy 2020 and the curriculum. Viewers, I hope you are taking notes. This is very critical insight for all of you. All right, to our next question. Our viewers are very interested in knowing from you, how will the introduction of STEM benefit students at high school level?
Yeah, as I just said, see, teaching is an art. So there will be teachers in school. All the teachers have to get capacity built with the new modern technologies. As Dr. Ethan has just explained, the difference between the traditional classroom and the modern classroom. So practically every teacher has to be equipped with modern technology first and foremost, in order to be able to carry out STEM in the school. You know, there will no longer be a teacher in front of the blackboard or the whiteboard. The teacher will just be a facilitator. The students will be just engaged. There will be a lot of critical thinking. The numeracy skills, the language literacy skills will be given more importance under the NEP. And in this way, yes, the students will definitely progress. And by the time they pass out from high school, they are already focused onto what stream they want to get onto which profession they want to get into. So as Purva Kalia has said, it's like the corporate. So schools also will have to develop that kind of a spirit of team building, having good strategies, and everyone works as a team. The managements, the teachers, the students, and the parents' involvement. So a school will no longer be just concentrating on exams and completing portions, as one of my colleagues said. There will be also a corporate setting in the school setting itself. So it's actually, I'm looking forward to implement this NEP as soon as possible. It's a quite challenging task, no doubt, in schools, especially in Goa. But yes, challenges are part of life. And definitely, as we move on with life, we have to move on as educators to give the best opportunities to the students. And I believe nothing is impossible.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Madam D'Souza, for sharing your learning from the system, about the system with our participant viewers. To our last and final question to you, can you tell us how, as educators, can we contribute towards this change?
Yes, as educators, we have to upgrade ourselves first. I think we have to start preparing ourselves using STEM. We have to be upgraded with our technologies. Like if you ask me, I'm not very computer savvy. I always have to depend on someone to guide me with the skills. But the pandemic was a blessing in disguise. And we all teachers learned how to prepare videos and how to teach through online modes. And every time we prepared a lesson, it was more innovative. And so like this, with the NEP, we need to upgrade our skills. So every teacher, every educator will not be able to stand still. We all have to upgrade, whether it's the head teacher or the teacher who teaches the kindergarten class, that is the age of 3 students, will all have to upgrade their skills time and again, if we are going to be abreast with the modern system. So yes, we have to support it and we have to learn along with the students. Only then our country will progress.
Absolutely. Principal D'Souza, thank you for putting it so succinctly and so beautifully by saying, be the change you want to see. All right, that moves me on to my next panelist. Please put your hands together to welcome Ms. Anupama Mehra, Principal, NCS Goa, Navy School Goa. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Good evening, everybody. neighbors of the Goa International Airport, smack bang on Airport Road from Goa. I come all the way from the land of the sun, beach and sand. Firm believer of Edward de Bono's simplicity. I love the way each speaker here put across their ideas so simply, and firm believer of the same myself that, complexity creates confusion and simplicity focus. I took away a lot of that from each speaker who tried to unravel the mystery of STEM education. Thank you for being, allowing me to be a panelist, and I'm ready for whatever viewer questions that you would have for me.
All right, then. So straight into our viewers' questions. Our viewers are very interested in knowing, how do you think schools can prepare to encourage the teaching staff members to orient themselves towards implementation of STEM education, and what kind of professional development can teachers undergo?
Ma'am D'Souza just spoke about NEP. Taking a leaf out of her talk, the roadmap is there. We are talking about critical thinking. We are talking about interactive classes. We are talking about experiential. This is already there in place. So starting from whatever we have and wherever we are, we can just start taking it on from there. Simple problems, and the way Apurva unraveled the entire complete definition of STEM, very basic tasks can be done in a in the classroom to get in that temper, that thinking and orientation. I'll just share of very few things that we do in school, and it's a live example of how we do it. Teachers definitely need the empowerment, because technology, as said by one of my colleagues, we need to be doing it ourselves. We need to learn to work as teams first, for example, or we need to collaborate and get the whole collaborative atmosphere in school, or the theory of constructivism. We need to work on it as mentors ourselves. Are we doing it, or working in islands? A very small thing. We need to encourage a simple thing like group seating in class. A very simple, move away from the assembly line of desks and chairs. There was a very poignant picture by one of our speakers here of a teacher-centric classroom. And then, very basic here. So teachers have to adapt to that change. Management have to adapt to that change. The mentoring and the teacher training will come. We are already there. We are having so many coding. We are having so many teacher training workshops on technology. We are collaborating with Microsoft for Google certified trainers. We are using all the apps possible, right? So we are getting there, but it's the basics that really matter. If a child comes up and tells you, I want to understand how the Sahayikas are throwing away waste, or are we segregating waste, or how much tea, coffee, and tea leaves is being used by the tea club, or how big is my football ground? There you have it. You are problem solving. You're asking questions. You're already orienting the little generation towards these everyday activities of the class. Dr. Ethan's activity reminded me of a Beyblade, like a top spinner, like our kids play with, right? So imagine getting art here, or making simple installations. The moment the child wants to move away from a specific classroom setup, do we teachers encourage it? Do we want change? Or are we going, I understand it's a curriculum-based, syllabus-based, syllabus-defined, but can we break the mold? And it comes like a top-down approach. Are we ready to take risks? So my first earnest request to every teacher out there is, break your own mindset, your own mold. Every principal needs to do that. I think that's where we need to stop. Workshops to ho rahe hain bahut. So many workshops are happening. It's here first. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for such a powerful and such a relevant response, and also bringing up the issue of the curriculum, which is the point of my next question to you also. What are some of the changes that can be made in the curriculum flow to accommodate STEM education? Please, if you could spend some time on this subject and share your insight with our viewers.
I feel the subject basket that we are opening up in class 11 should be done in class 8. It should be done earlier because children do start orienting, and we have seen, like we do it in our schools, we let the child spend a lot of time on what they love to do. There are no barriers. Of course, there is a timetable, otherwise the whole school schedule will go berserk. So there is let that happen. Let there be lesser boundaries for children to confine themselves with. So if we have a child going in for sports, for example, let us handhold the child and rise above the curriculum. Let the curriculum be there. There is an excellent curriculum in place. CBSE is doing a fantastic job in skilling. There are skill hubs, there is hybrid learning, there is art integrated projects. The roadmap is there. How are we implementing it? So let the subject boundaries be there. Let the syllabus boundary be there. It's the method of implementation is what needs a change, right? And syllabus does get covered. In fact, there are reduction in curriculum section in NEP, which beautifully talks about teaching the core essentials. Let's keep it and define it as good to teach, must to teach, getting the core concept so that the child is successful in the long run, and then breaking down barriers. I think that will help. I'm not against a curriculum implementation. It is there thanks to the education think tanks, and it's beautifully done. It's the implementation and the freedom for every educator to be able to implement it and the flow of it. Yes.
To our next question, our viewers are curious to know, in a country that focuses so much on syllabus completion, does STEM education stand a chance? You've already hinted on it, but please, if you can elaborate a little more on that and answer our viewers' question, please.
If we look at what our speakers said, STEM education is not a separate subject. It is an integration and application of all the activities that we are already doing. The roadmap is there. It's just the incorporation. The syllabus does go along, and in the process, you are teaching our children so many other things, whether it's art or whether it is music or whether it is the tinkering labs which are in place, or whether it is the various exhibitions and science exhibitions and art exhibitions that school do. It's just defining it down and changing the pedagogy. So STEM education is happening. We tend to treat it as a separate subject or a separate entity. Just integrate everything and amalgamate everything, like very beautifully put by Dr. Ethan. There are these separate activities which are in the form of various subjects. Put them together as one project and you have STEM. So it's not a separate entity. It's all about integration. So we can finish syllabus to an extent, yes, until unless we are board bound, 10th exam board bound, and that also, thanks to CUCT, has lost its relevance in class 12th. My children question, why do I score? What is in it for me? And I honestly sometimes have this conversation with my class 12. You're actually right. So with that, we've already broken down the myth around the class 12th examination, right? So it's just 10th. And why should we treat 10th as just as a stepping stone to choose your stream? There is so much more that you can do. So let the curriculum be there. We just need to integrate ourselves beautifully and go along. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Principal Mehra, for simplifying such a complicated subject, how it can be implemented and how students can benefit from it and how they can start early on their own also. Even if the schools are not taking it up, the systems are simplified enough, accessible enough. Thank you so much for clarifying and demystifying a lot of these myths about STEM education for us. All right, so moving on to our next principal, all the way from northern state of Punjab, Principal Vinodita Sankhyan, Principal of Shri Ram Ashram School, Amritsar. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, and pleasure being here with all of you.
All right, then. Principal Dr. Vinodita Sankhyan, our audience is very curious to know from you, and it's a very typical question coming in from schools, how to convince management of schools and parents for STEM education.
See, in any setup, the pocket which funds the program is very important. And for any project, the pocket that is going to fund is either the parent or the management. And STEM, as all of us have been sharing here, is one that we would say is a forward-looking need of the hour kind of a project, which is basically retweaking the mindset of the people around, changing perspectives. And for that, we need to convince and we need to have on board both the managements on one side and the parents on one side. Supposing you have to have a STEM lab in school, supposing you need to hire a new trainer for STEM in school, or maybe you have a minor changes in the curriculum or whatever, you need to first take permissions from your management. And at some places, they need to provide for the infrastructure, they need to provide for the funding, and they need to provide for the means and ways by which it can be wholeheartedly handled. If there is a friction between the management and the principal or the faculty for implementing STEM, I don't think the project will work very smoothly. Then any project would not move ahead if the parent community is not there. They are very strong stakeholders in any school community. And because the parent in any school, any urban, semi-urban or rural areas, parents in India are the people who decide what the child does and how much time and where the child is going to invest the time. So it's very, very important that they need to be enlightened before the child needs to get enlightened. So we need to bring the parents on board. We've been doing STEM in our school. I think we've been associated with RoboGenius since 2015 now. And in between COVID happened, still a large number of my parents have been able to come on board for that. But it took us a lot of time and convincing them. Now they've come up to the stage when they look forward and when the results of implementing STEM education in school is visible to them. On the basis of STEM programs, now the children are getting placements in good and better colleges. Now the parents are convincing, and see, it goes by word of mouth. You call the parents for a parent orientation, you display the projects on the PT meets and things like that. Still, they take time to adopt to the new technology and adopt to a new perspective. NEP has come a long way. The government is talking a lot about it, but still it is a tall call.
Certainly, Principal Sankhyan, the entire STEM movement in India is a principle change, showcasing the change, difference, and convincing parents and management in taking interest in STEM education and implementing it through labs or other means that are available. All right, to our next question to you, Principal Sankhyan, can you tell us how do schools find trained staff and infrastructure needed for implementation of STEM education?
See, you've touched a very sensitive chord. We in Punjab are facing a huge challenge. We are not getting trained faculty. Thanks to RoboGenius, they would always fly down their faculty to Amritsar, and then we would host them in the school for 3 days. And that is the passion with the school was there, that yes, we have to do it. Otherwise, we really, I think in all rural, urban places, this is a huge challenge. Even if you train your own teachers, there is a limitation. The exposure is not all that much. It is always advisable and it is always desirable to have a trained faculty at the local level, because that way the hands-on training can be done in during holidays or maybe for longer hours, maybe on weekends, which with the numbers that we have, with the challenges that we have in India, that is the need of the hour, to devote more time into it so that the exposure is widespread. So trained faculty and training our own staff is a big challenge. I just hope that in the Center of Excellences that CBSE is building up, CBSE would take this also as one of the skills that need to be developed at the faculty level. Let's hope.
Certainly, certainly, Principal Sankyan. We are also working with powers that be to make sure that training in STEM, how to implement STEM through existing subjects, is imparted and the capacities are built through initiatives of principals like you and others. This moves me to the next question that our audience has from you. As a school leader, as an administrator, you have a very busy schedule as per syllabus. How do you adjust time to fit STEM education within this curriculum?
I think where there's a will, there's a way. You can always figure out how to do it. I personally, we've been doing that since quite a few years now. I don't think that is a challenge. As some of the speakers today, they've mentioned that with the advent of NEP, the CBSE as well as the government is going to rationalize the syllabus very soon, and they'll be sharing it with us. Otherwise also, we are supposed to give sports some time, we are supposed to give health education some time, and when you have your parents on board, I think that's a very, very important component of the entire scene. When they are on board and you wish to train the children or have a STEM session with them, maybe on a Saturday afternoon, or maybe during the summer breaks, or maybe during other holidays that you have, or maybe coming while before school time, it works. It has been working for us. And at times we've been making space for STEM classes during the school timing, at times before and after the school timing also. So I think fitting it into the daily schedule of children is not an issue. That is not part of the problem. The trained faculty, bringing the parents on board in my school and in my zone, that is the major challenge.
All right. One last question that we want to ask from you, and that is that while we are doing capacity building and onboarding teachers, quickly, if you can tell us how do schools like yours find exact kits and tools needed for STEM education?
Again, thanks to RoboGenius again. When we started it initially, they had provided us with tools and kits for these programs. And we do not have too many kits, but because we juggle the time of the children, we are able to cover all the children with those few kits that we have. So I don't think that's a problem, because any faculty, when they get trained, and any company that handholds you into that, and now as Mr. Sudhanshu was just mentioning, that they have sponsors who can maybe build up the labs or maybe help you with that, and I'm sure they will come around with the government funding also, that should not be a problem.